Hey guys, I'm back and I've got another unit here for you in how to draw mechs. Okay, so mech, mechanical, bot, robot. We know that these are machines of some sort, some nature, right? But so many times, because we are people, we base the designs on people, on humans. Structurally, you can see how so many of the functions of mechs or the design and mechanism of them follows humanoid structure, right? So I'm going to teach you, and we're going to go through very quickly about how we could use humans as a reference. So what you can do with this is you can gather references off the internet, pictures and everything like that, some cool poses. You can use kind of like maybe a 3D app sometimes. There's a lot of them out there for human posability and all that kind of stuff, right? Or take your own pictures. And that's what I usually like to do. Now I'm going to warn you, I didn't post any of my pictures up in this worksheet because nobody wants to see that. Usually I'm not wearing much, so I can see the joints as a reference and all that kind of stuff. Let's imagine 1970s short shorts, something along that. And didn't want to put that in this course. But I want to tell you that you can really use the human structure for having a good, solid base to your mechs. So let's jump in and see how this might work, right? Okay, so right away we've got this warrior, right? And do you remember how we were kind of talking about the the basic skeleton, right? Like I could do a box here, box here. Here's a joint. Here's a joint. Here's a joint. Here's a joint. Why do I feel like that's a song? Here's a hand. Here's a hand. The joint in the wrist, right? Knees a joint. Ankles a joint. Knees a joint, right? And I could just start connecting the dots, right? Um, the head's up here that's going down. And really, this is how simple it can kind of look, right? And if I take away the reference, well, why don't I do this a few times before we really get into it, right? Um, Something we can do here is just as we're looking at it, recognize that these are the proportions that were given with this particular model, right? This is a model that's been used on maybe, I don't know what website this was, Human Anatomy or something, right? But if you want to change it, well, all you'd have to do is kind of bump it out a little bit, right? Something along those lines. That could work, right? You can even like lengthen a bottom. You could just use this as a base, but lengthening the bottom or something like that, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do here, let's see if this works. I'm just going to kind of grab these and copy them and drag them down below. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So you can see how now I've got this basic outline, right? And so what am I going to do? Well, later on in this course, you're going to get into the details of a mech, right? Like all the hoses and the vents and all those. But for right now, we're still just gonna go kind of roughing things in, right? So we'll just start to use rectangles. And what if I wanted to make this like Optimus Prime with the grill in front, right? So I can the windows and the grill, and then this can come down here, and then it comes something like this, right? And this shoulder becomes that block with the extended of the arm, right? This is another point, right? The forearm. And so I can start to fill in these details using what I know about this design for the mech, right? Or in this case, it's a transformer or something, right? So I can do that. And of course, this works out better over on something like this, where we're able to bump the proportions. Because even though this is a massively muscular dude, he doesn't quite have the frame needed for Optimus. Optimus is a bot, right? So it's going to be much bigger. And we want to start to add some depth into this, as we've talked about, right? That type of thing, right? Okay, so you can go in and start to fill these figures in, start to work on it. Maybe there's a joint in there, right? It comes out to this. There's maybe, I'm just doing this all from memory, right? So what we can do is go through and try to block out, some of the key points that we could see. Where are the joints? What's the pose like? And that's what this unit is really about, is being able to, because to be honest, most of the references online for bots are somebody else's artwork, right? And you don't want to be copying somebody else's artwork. Believe me, I get, when you're studying, copy it. I don't care. Use it as a reference. I don't care. But as soon as you get to a certain point, you want to be moving beyond that. And online, or whether it's yourself, as we've talked about earlier, you can use humans as a bit of a starting point, right? So even for this, like, let's say I'm doing this and I want to beef up the top of this bot, right? Or I want to lengthen these legs or these feet, right? I can start to make the hands bigger, start to do things with this head and stuff. And now you can see how I'm transforming what is a normal pose. Well, she had a gun or something, right? Yeah. So you can start to transform this into a bot pose, right? So like I said, that's part of what I want you to do, is to go through, and I've made this sheet for you so you can practice it up. And whether you're drawing on top of it or whether you're kind of drawing below, like, where's his knees are here, his feet are here, right? I'm kind of going like this. This one comes out. I might even put a hand out there. And you could see I've got this, right? Okay, so here's the joints, right? Now, how would I make it into... I keep kind of referencing Optimus Prime because he's the coolest. Actually, no, I'm more of a sound wave guy now that I think about it. But that's the thing. You start to say, okay, well, here's where that chest plate would be, but it's actually angled on him. So if I look at it, it would actually be coming across this way. And then there'd be some depth here. So maybe I would change this and have it going back, something like that, right? And then there's a plate below, and I could do that, right? I could have this arm coming out with a big shoulder coming out this way, that type of thing. And you start to fill in the blanks. And the proportions of the average person, like I've said, they might not work for you. So instead, what you might do is you might just take the top of this pose, right? And it might not work for your bot at all. But you might take the top of this pose, and let's see if I'm going to do this right. Take the top of this pose, and then, but the bottom of this pose is something totally different. It could be a bit of, we've talked about this before, like something like that, right? And he's got this electronic sword coming out or something like that, okay? So go through and sketch a little bit of the stickman beside each of these human references, and then see what you can come up with. And then what you also get to do is start to play with it, right? So we're looking at a perspective here, right? So here would be the block, right? Let's see if we can draw it beside. We practice this like quick blocks, right? Here it's tilted in. So we're looking straight at it. So the block below is maybe more like this or something, but it's blocked out because of this. So let's see if I go over anyways there. Okay. Then I've got this knee hinge here, right? So this can come out and this can come up. And this comes down into that. And this one comes down. Maybe I can flare these as a design. and the foot goes down that way or something. So already you could see how this transformer is looking pretty badass, right? The shoulder is out here. This shoulder comes back here, comes out to the elbow and out to the elbow here. So this block is coming forward, and then this one is going to come up this way and into a hand that's holding the gun. Let's see if I draw that a little bit deeper, right? This one's going to come back into a hand here, so it tapers back, and this one comes back. Now the gun, well, hell, you can draw whatever you want. Maybe I'll even draw it in red here, right? This is where we start to get used to drawing tubes and cylinders in a certain pattern, right? And this gun could be here and monstrous, right? That type of thing, okay? So, you know, use this human as a bit of a reference for drawing a cool bot. See if that makes sense. Okay, guys, I've kind of practiced on maybe half of these, but even without this, what I'm going to do is just include this worksheet with you, and I want you to use people as references. This one I've collected for you, right? I've collected this sheet for you. You can use this one, but it's the wild, wild west out on the internet. Start collecting references that you think would be cool, like guys coming at you with a gun or something, you know. Or what I've done is actually gone to the toy store and collected my own weapons, right? Like, so imagine this, you know, like coming at you like this. And yes, these are modern day kind of weapons, but how easy would it be to adapt these into something a mech might use or something? If we're using a mech that has kind of humanoid hands, which we'll get into in another unit here, then we get, oh, it makes sounds. And we get into using weapons, right? So whether it's double, like smaller, whether they're bigger weapons, this kind of thing, right? Use a lot of these and hit your poses, and then see if you could turn it into a mech. Really, I think that that's it's a great resource, because otherwise what's going to happen is you keep drawing your mechs these straight on, I am robot, right? And when you use dynamic poses with humans and are able to box them out and work them and manipulate them, push and pull the proportions into something that is what you're trying to achieve with a mech, damn, that could be pretty cool. Imagine a kung fu pose with a robot, right? Could be a stringy robot, could be a fat blocky robot, right? That's up to you. All of this is now up to you. As you've seen, whether we're in perspective and making blocks and then understanding hinging and stuff like that, we've gotten now to the point where you could take Conan here, or whatever, wannabe Conan, and make it into a bot. Make it into Transformers fighting in the medieval times. I think they did a movie like that. Or you could take a sniper and transform that. The choice is yours now.